What if I told you that the biggest problem with your legs is not your age? Most people believe that heavy legs, swollen ankles, or nighttime calf cramps are just a normal consequence of aging. That's just part of it. I hear this sentence almost daily. However, this is exactly where a dangerous misconception lies. Because in many cases, it is not your legs that age first. It is your circulation that is slowly declining. And when that happens, muscles, skin, and nerves receive less and less oxygen and nutrients. Many people know the consequences all too well. Heavy legs, tingling, cold feet, slow wound healing, nighttime cramps, uncertainty while walking, and at some point, you start to believe that the body is simply not the same anymore. But the good news is, many of these changes occur gradually, and that's exactly why we can often take action early. Today, I will show you the 4 most common reasons why blood circulation in the legs declines with age. You will learn about a simple test you can perform at home immediately. Why your calves are often more important than your heart when it comes to healthy legs. And later in this video, I will introduce you to a fruit that has shown amazing results for vascular health in scientific studies. Most people eat them regularly, but almost no one knows why they could be particularly interesting for circulation. Therefore, make sure to stay tuned for the third part, because there I will not only tell you which fruit is meant, but also how to use it correctly and why the timing of consumption plays a bigger role than many think. Hello, I am Dr. Andrew Parker. For many years, I have been dealing with the topics of healthy aging, nutrition, and cardiovascular health. My goal is to explain medical context in an understandable way, scientifically grounded and at the same time so practical that you can apply what you've learned directly in everyday life. And that is exactly why we are not starting today with medications, not with dietary supplements, but with a small test, a test that only takes a few seconds. Please stretch out your hand once. Gently press with a finger on the nail of your thumb until the spot turns white. Then let go. Observe very closely now. How quickly does the normal pink color return? If this happens within about 2 seconds, it usually indicates normal capillary circulation. If it takes significantly longer, it may be an indication that the microcirculation is not functioning optimally. Of course, this test does not replace a medical examination, but it clearly shows how important even the smallest blood vessels in our body are, because it is precisely there that it is determined whether oxygen and nutrients actually reach every single cell. Many people immediately think of large arteries when it comes to circulation, of cholesterol or the heart. But the actual supply occurs in millions of tiny capillaries, and it is precisely these small vessels that react particularly sensitively to aging processes. You may be wondering now, why are the legs affected first? The answer is surprisingly simple. Our legs work constantly against gravity. Every drop of blood must be transported back up to the heart, and it's not just the heart that helps. There is a second, often underestimated helper, the calf muscles. Many medical professionals therefore refer to it as the second heart. Whenever you walk, climb stairs, or even just move your feet, the calf muscles contract. In doing so, they gently compress the deep veins and gradually transport the blood back up. Without this muscle pump, the heart would have to work significantly harder. But it is exactly here that the real problem begins for many people from the age of 60. Muscle strength gradually decreases. And with that, this natural pump also works less effectively. In the next section, we will look at why this age-related muscle loss has much more consequences than most people are aware of. This is where cause number 1 begins. Not cholesterol, not the heart, but something that many people do not notice at all: the gradual loss of muscle mass. Medical professionals refer to this as sarcopenia. Perhaps you have heard this term before. It describes the natural decline in muscle mass and muscle strength that can occur with increasing age. From the age of 50, many people lose a part of their muscle mass every decade. The legs are particularly affected, and this is no coincidence. Our calves are among the most heavily used muscles in the body. Every day they perform thousands of small movements. With each step, they assist in the return transport of blood to the heart. But when these muscles become weaker, the so-called muscle pump also loses strength. Blood flows back more slowly. It accumulates more easily in the legs. Fluid seeps into the surrounding tissue. The consequences can be heavy legs, swelling, and a feeling of tension, especially in the evening. Many people then believe that their veins are the sole problem. In reality, the cause often begins much earlier, namely with the declining muscle mass. A scientific study showed that people with chronic venous diseases often simultaneously suffer from reduced muscle mass in the calves. This does not mean that every muscle loss automatically leads to circulation disorders, but both problems seem to be closely related. Therefore, it is often not enough to just apply creams or wear compression stockings. The muscles themselves need to be reactivated, and that is exactly the good news. Because muscles respond to movement at any age. Even at 70 or 80 years old, they can become stronger again. Not overnight, but step by step. Even regular small movements can make the muscle pump work more effectively again. Perhaps you are familiar with the following situation. They sit in the car for a long time, or several hours on the plane, or spend the afternoon on the sofa. When you stand up afterwards, your legs feel heavy. Some people even describe a pulling or tingling sensation. Why does this happen? Because the muscle pump is almost completely inactive while sitting. The heart continues to pump blood to the legs. However, the return transport works significantly worse. Therefore, vascular specialists have been recommending for many years to get up and move regularly. Not necessarily sports. Often just a few minutes are enough, and even the rhythmic lifting of the heels or a few steps around the apartment can significantly improve venous return. A recent meta-analysis shows that these rhythmic movements of the feet and calves reliably support blood flow and can even help reduce the risk of certain venous complications. Therefore, never underestimate the impact of small movements. It's not the intensity that matters, but the consistency. But muscle strength alone does not explain everything. There is a second mechanism that also loses performance with increasing age, and this mechanism is located directly in your blood vessels. More precisely, in their innermost layer, the so-called endothelium. Most people have never heard this word, yet this thin layer of cells influences every single blood flow in our body. She also decides whether a blood vessel expands or narrows, whether the blood can flow freely, or whether the resistance gradually increases. And this is exactly where the second cause begins. With increasing age, the endothelium often produces less nitric oxide, a substance that is crucial for the relaxation and dilation of blood vessels. We will take a closer look at why this is so important and which everyday habits can additionally impair this natural protective function in the next section. Now let's move on to the second cause. It is invisible. It causes no pain. And yet it decides every day how well your legs are supplied with blood. I am talking about the endothelium. Perhaps you have never heard this term before. It refers to a very thin layer of cells that lines the inside of all blood vessels, from the largest blood vessel to the smallest capillary. One could say, the endothelium is the conductor of your entire vascular system. It constantly decides whether a blood vessel dilates or constricts, whether the blood can flow freely, or whether each heartbeat has to overcome a little more resistance. In the young body, this system functions almost perfectly. The endothelium produces sufficient nitric oxide, medically also known as nitric oxide or simply NO. This substance acts as a natural relaxation signal. He tells the blood vessels, open up a little. This improves circulation. More oxygen reaches muscles, skin, and nerves. The legs feel lighter. But with increasing age, this process changes. The production of nitric oxide gradually decreases. The vessels lose some of their elasticity. They react more sluggishly. And that is exactly why many people eventually report cold feet or heavy legs. But the endothelium has another enemy, an enemy that can be on our plate every day. Too much sugar. Excess sugar binds with proteins in our blood vessel walls. This process is called glycation in medicine. This results in so-called AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Simply put, they act like a type of glue. They make the vessel wall stiffer, less elastic, and in the long term, more susceptible to damage. That's why some scientists even refer to it as the sugaring of the blood vessels. What matters is the sum of many years, many small decisions. Healthy vessels do not arise from a single food. They are created through a lifestyle, exercise, sufficient sleep, a balanced diet, and as few chronic inflammations as possible. Today, we know that many people suffer from what is called silent inflammation. It does not cause fever or acute pain. Nevertheless, it continuously burdens the vessel wall. That is precisely why we are increasingly talking about healthy aging rather than just disease treatment. Perhaps you are now asking yourself, can I still support my endothelium at all? The answer is yes, more than many people believe. And this is exactly where a very specific fruit comes into play later. But before we reveal its name, we need to talk about a third factor. The third cause surprises most people because it has nothing to do with the blood vessels themselves, and not directly with the heart either, but with something that we lose every single day without even noticing it: water. As we age, our sense of thirst changes. Many people over 60 simply drink less, not because they consciously want to, but because the body signals less often that it needs fluids. Have you even had something to drink today? Our blood is made up largely of water. When fluid is lacking, its flow properties change. It becomes more viscous, sufficiently so to affect microcirculation. This is because the smallest blood vessels are particularly sensitive to changes in blood viscosity. When blood circulation slows down, the muscles receive less oxygen as well. As a result, they tire more quickly. And this in turn worsens the muscle pump of the calves. So you see, all these factors are interconnected. Each individual factor amplifies the next. But this is exactly where the good news lies. Just as this development has built up slowly, we can positively influence it step by step, not through miracle cures, but through simple measures that are well researched scientifically. More movement, sufficient fluid intake, an anti-inflammatory diet. The fruit we will talk about shortly can be found in almost every supermarket today. Only a few know that it has been studied in scientific research for its effects on platelets. I will show you the fruit shortly and explain why it can support your vascular health. This is where the most important part of this video begins. Now, the moment has come that many of you have been waiting for. What fruit is it actually? Which fruit has been repeatedly studied in scientific research when it comes to healthy blood vessels, better circulation, and normal platelet function? Maybe you are thinking of pomegranate now, or blueberries, maybe even oranges. All these fruits undoubtedly have health benefits. But the fruit we are talking about today surprises most people. It is small, unassuming, available almost all year round, and yet it is one of the most nutrient-rich fruits of all. I am talking about the kiwi. Yes, indeed, the kiwi. Many people only eat it occasionally. Others use it exclusively in fruit salad, but few know why it has attracted so much interest in nutritional medicine for years. The reason lies not in a single ingredient, but in an extraordinary combination of various nutrients. Let's start with vitamin C. The kiwi is one of the richest fruits in vitamin C. Just one kiwi often provides more vitamin C than many citrus fruits. Why is this important? Vitamin C is much more than just a cold vitamin. It contributes to normal collagen formation, and this collagen is an important component of our blood vessels. One could say, healthy vessels need stable walls, and collagen plays an important role in this stability. Moreover, vitamin C protects our cells from oxidative stress. Especially the sensitive endothelial cells benefit from this. But vitamin C is far from everything. The kiwi also provides plenty of potassium. Potassium supports the normal function of our muscles, and our heart also relies on an adequate supply of potassium. Additionally, the kiwi contains vitamin K, fiber, and numerous polyphenols. These secondary plant compounds have been the focus of vascular research for years. They help, not because they replace a medication, but because they can reduce oxidative stress and positively influence inflammatory processes. And that ultimately benefits the blood vessels in the long term. However, the kiwi became particularly interesting due to a study published a few years ago. In this study, participants consumed 2 to 3 kiwis daily over a period of 4 weeks. The researchers observed something remarkable. The platelets showed a lower tendency to clump together. Additionally, certain blood lipid levels improved. This does not mean that kiwi replaces blood thinners. That would be scientifically incorrect. But the results show that this fruit has interesting properties that need to be further researched. And that is exactly why many nutritionists talk so frequently about kiwi today. Not because of a single miraculous effect, but because several positive properties come together. You might be wondering now, is it enough to just eat a kiwi every morning? Unfortunately, it's not that simple, because this is where many people make the crucial thinking mistake. It's not the kiwi alone that makes the difference, but rather what you do in the next 30 minutes afterward. I will now explain why this combination can be so effective. This is exactly where people who improve their health in the long term differ from those who constantly seek quick solutions. Many believe, I'll just eat a kiwi in the morning and that solves the problem. But that's not how our body works. A single fruit cannot compensate for years of lack of exercise, poor nutrition, or insufficient sleep. However, science shows something extremely interesting. When the right nutrients meet exercise, a significantly stronger effect often occurs than through any measure alone. Imagine your blood vessels as a widely branched road network. The kiwi provides your body with important building blocks and protects the vessel wall from oxidative stress. But exercise ensures that more traffic actually occurs on these roads again. Only when both come together can the supply of your muscles be optimally supported. That's exactly why I often recommend a simple morning ritual to my patients. Eat a kiwi, and don't just sit afterwards. Use the next 30 minutes. Go for a walk. Climb some stairs, or do some simple calf exercises. Why exactly 30 minutes? Because our metabolism works particularly actively right after a meal. The body begins to absorb and distribute nutrients. In this phase, movement can additionally stimulate blood flow while also activating the so-called muscle pump. Of course, this does not replace medical therapy, but it utilizes two natural mechanisms at the same time: nutritional supply and the return transport of blood through the muscles. Another advantage of the kiwi is often overlooked. It contains soluble and insoluble fiber. These not only support digestion, they also serve as food for numerous beneficial gut bacteria. You may be wondering now, what do my gut and my legs have to do with each other? More than many people suspect. In recent years, research has increasingly shown that a healthy microbiome influences far more than just digestion. It is linked, among other things, to inflammatory processes, metabolism, and even vascular health. Chronic inflammation can impair endothelial function. In contrast, a diverse microbiome seems to positively affect various metabolic processes. Of course, this does not mean that kiwi alone changes your gut flora, but it can be part of an overall gut-friendly diet. Now I am often asked, should I eat the kiwi peeled or with the skin? Both are generally possible. The skin contains additional fiber and various secondary plant compounds. Many people find them unpleasant, however. If you want to eat the skin, you should wash the fruit thoroughly and pay attention to organic quality as much as possible. Those who do not like the skin can certainly benefit from the flesh. Much more important than this decision is regularity anyway. Not even once a month, but rather several times a week if possible. The amount also plays a role. According to the studies available so far, 2 to 3 kiwis were often used daily. However, this does not mean that every person must eat exactly this amount. Even 1 kiwi a day can be a sensible addition to a balanced diet. What matters is the overall picture. Lots of vegetables, sufficient protein, healthy fats, regular exercise, adequate sleep, and of course foods that can support your blood vessels in the long term. Perhaps you have noticed by now that we hardly talked about medications throughout the entire video. Not because medications are unimportant. On the contrary, for many vascular diseases, they are vital. But before complaints even arise, we often have an astonishingly large influence on our lifestyle. And that is exactly where prevention comes in. Not just reacting when pain occurs, but creating the conditions for vessels to remain healthy for as long as possible. In the last part of this video, I will now show you 3 simple exercises that activate your calf muscles, why these muscles are actually referred to as the second heart, and which warning signs you should never ignore when it comes to your circulation. So far, we have discussed the three main reasons why blood circulation in the legs may decline with age. We have seen the role your muscles play, why the endothelium is essential for healthy vessels, why dehydration and chronic inflammation are often underestimated, and we talked about the kiwi, a fruit that has been scientifically studied for years due to its unique combination of vitamin C, potassium, fiber, and polyphenols. But now I want to show you how you can transfer all this knowledge into your daily life. Because knowledge alone does not change health. Only habits do that. Imagine two people. Both are 70 years old. Both eat roughly the same. Both take similar medications. The first one starts every morning by eating a little something and then sits in front of the television for 2 hours. The second person also has his breakfast, but afterwards he goes for a 10-minute walk or consciously moves his feet and calves. Which of these two people activates their muscle pump? Clearly the second one. And that's exactly why vascular specialists often refer to the calf muscles as the second heart. Because every contraction of these muscles pushes the venous blood upwards, step by step. With every single step, it's a free pump. It's available around the clock. And it works remarkably effectively as long as we use it. That's why I want to show you 3 simple exercises today. They take less than 5 minutes in total. They require no equipment, and almost anyone can adapt them to their own fitness level. Exercise number 1, heel raises. Stand behind a chair and hold on lightly. Slowly lift both heels. Rise up onto your toes. Hold the position for 2 seconds. Slowly lower your heels back down. Repeat this movement 10 to 15 times. This engages exactly the muscles that are so important for venous return. Exercise number 2, marching in place. Alternately lift your knees slightly, not quickly, not frantically, very calmly, for about 1 minute. Even this simple movement activates numerous leg muscles and simultaneously improves circulation. This exercise is particularly beneficial after prolonged sitting. Exercise number 3, foot rocking while sitting. Sit comfortably in a chair. Place both feet flat on the floor. Now lift only your toes, then only your heels, always alternating. This small movement also gets the muscle pump going again. It is excellent for people who sit a lot or have limited mobility. You may be wondering now, are these exercises really enough? Alone, they will not heal any existing vascular disease. But that's not the point at all. It's about supporting the natural blood flow a little every day. Many small movements add up over weeks and months to make a big difference. Equally important is knowing when you should not just wait. There are complaints that always need to be clarified by a doctor. For example, a suddenly swollen calf on one side, severe pain, a bluish discoloration of the leg, shortness of breath in connection with leg pain, or wounds that do not heal over a longer period. In such situations, you should not rely on home remedies. Please seek medical help immediately because serious circulatory disorders or even a venous thrombosis can lie behind such complaints. Let's summarize the most important points once more. Healthy legs do not start only at the feet. They begin in your blood vessels, in your muscles, in your metabolism, and in your daily habits. When you regularly move your calves, drink enough, pay attention to a balanced diet, and choose foods that can support your vascular health, you give your body better conditions day by day. Not for eternal youth, but for more mobility, more stability, and often also for better quality of life. And that's exactly why I want to give you a little challenge today. Try the following over the next 14 days. Eat a kiwi regularly in the morning, then move for 10 minutes. Additionally, perform the 3 simple exercises daily. Write down how your legs feel after 2 weeks. Many people report lighter legs, less tension, and more confidence when walking after a short time. Of course, every body reacts differently, but that's exactly why it's worth paying attention to your own changes. Feel free to write in the comments below. Do you often have heavy legs or night calf cramps? And did you already know that the calf muscles are referred to as the second heart? I really enjoy reading your comments and look forward to your experiences. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Here you will regularly find scientifically based information about healthy aging, nutrition, and prevention. explained in an understandable way and directly for your everyday life. Thank you for staying until the end. Take good care of yourself, and always remember, healthy blood vessels do not come from a single big decision. They come from many small habits every single day.